One of your colleagues telling LBC yesterday that Lucy Connolly, released from prison after a year or so of her sentence for inciting racial hatred on Friday, was, in his view, this is Matt Vickers, a political prisoner. Do you share that view?
Well, I think it's quite clear that Lucy Connolly, what she has said and what others have said, and the sentences or the punishments meted out to them, do not seem to be in the same category.
Do you think she's a political prisoner?
Well, I mean, it's quite clear
that
it's quite clear that she felt that. I think we're all entitled to.
Well, of course, she felt that. A lot of people who go to prison think they've done nothing wrong. Doesn't mean they are political prisoners.
I also don't think that Lucy Connolly, Lucy Connolly did what she did is she tweeted and then deleted a tweet, which also means that she doesn't think
she also pleaded guilty to inciting racial hatred.
Exactly, which means that she doesn't think she did absolutely nothing wrong. She accepts that she did something.
She pleaded guilty in a court of law, which is more of a sign that she thinks she did something wrong.
Exactly. I think, therefore, we've got to look at what is the punishment for that offence.
Fine, but that's not what I was asking, Mr. Do you think she's a political prisoner?
Well, actually, Ben, that might be what you're asking, because
it's not. What I'm asking is, do you think she's a political prisoner?
Well, Ben, let's go into this. If you want to have a conversation about it,
I'd rather you just answer the question.
It has to be two ways, right? In that case, what is she? If she's in prison for the offence compared to other people who weren't imprisoned for similar offences, that's I think the question which Matt was posing is justice two-tier, which is actually more complex.
I'm not asking you if justice is two-tier. I'm not asking you if her sentence was too harsh. I'm asking you whether you think she is a political prisoner, as your colleague does.
Yeah, well, that's the point.
The fourth time.
That's the point I'm making, Ben. Is that actually it's quite clear there's two-tier justice here, and that's the point that Matt was making. Is that you can only be a political prisoner, right, in inverted commas, if there's one rule for one and one rule for another. And I can quite understand why a lot of people in the country, including Matt, feel that actually, there's different sentences for the same crime committed by different people.
Based on what?
Well, she pled guilty in a court of law, right, to an offence, and was in prison for 31 months.
But what are the two tiers? Is what I'm getting at.
Well, it's quite. We've seen other people saying things online and not being sentenced in the same.
So your point is that people are treated differently based on what? Their politics, their views.
Well, that's exactly the point. That's exactly the point that is being made. Yeah, that people are being treated.
But there's no evidence for that, is there?
Well, I don't think that's true, Ben.
What's the evidence for that?
I think there is real concern out there at the moment.
But what's the evidence for it?
Well, I mean, just look at we saw there's been a case. A prominent case recently with a Labour councillor
who pleaded not guilty and went to court. Lucy Connolly pleaded guilty. So you can't compare the two cases, can you?
Well, I mean, just because somebody pleads guilty and somebody pleads not guilty doesn't,
But had Lucy Connolly pleaded not guilty, she too might have gone to a jury and been let off in the same way as that councillor. You cannot compare the two and say it's two-tier justice. It's ridiculous.
Just a second, Ben. I think you make a fair point on that, but I think also, Lucy Connolly has raised questions herself over the legal advice that she received at the time as to whether that was the right action to take. So I think it's slightly more complex than the black or white thing that you're trying to suggest.
Just finally, why is she being feted as some sort of hero? This is a woman who went on social media, suggested that basically migrants could be mass murdered and burnt alive for all she cared, pled guilty in a court of law to inciting racial hatred, and for some of your colleagues seems to be some sort of freedom fighter.
No, I don't think she's being feted as a hero, but I think there are legitimate questions to ask around the justice system in the UK, where somebody says something, apologises, deletes their thing quite quickly, and then is given a pretty severe custodial prison sentence, when you're seeing at the same time, and we've seen this in the last few weeks and months, Ben, right, where you're seeing people who've been convicted, right, of child rape offences who are also given custodial sentences which are under 4 years in prison.
And Just Stop Oil protesters got 5 years in prison.
Well, yeah, but they were breaking multiple court orders after multiple different offences.
Which is more serious than serious sex offence?
Well, let's just be clear about that, right? They were not, that was not a first offence, right, for which they were being convicted on. What they were convicted on was after they'd been literally told by courts that they should not to do this again, time after time after time. They were basically found guilty of contempt of court, which is a different offence to protesting, which is, I think, what you were trying to imply in your original question there. I think it's quite clear that and that's what people are concerned about when you're seeing some people people being convicted of really serious offences on one side, being given very harsh sentences. Not being given as harsh sentences as people who are out there tweeting. I think that's what is a legitimate concern and a legitimate point of public debate in the UK, as should be on Britain's leading Britain's conversation.
Got to get it right, leading Britain's conversation.